my parents were really bad off. My mom was a drug addict. They were split up. My dad never wanted anything to do with me. So growing up was a really bad sight for me. My mom was always, we were constantly homeless, living on somebody different's couch every night, going house to house. So I grew up with no bullshit, I had to fight for everything I had. So it's not a thing for me to fight no more. Just it's one of the things where I have to take what I want and go after what I'm going to get, or else I'm not going to get it. Terry Funk was the first wrestler I ever talked to. So, man, I spent a lot of time with Terry Funk when I was a kid at those shows because I would always talk to him, and he would always talk back to me. He was just such a nice guy. I spent like hours just talking to Terry Funk, and they started beating the shit out of Terry Funk in the interview. Well, I knew where the dressing room was. So I took off, I hauled ass into the babyface dressing room. I ran, I busted doors open, and I was like, you gotta help, they're beating up Terry Funk. I instantly fell in love with ECW. So I never missed it. And I would tape every episode. I would tape, even if it was a rerun, I would still tape it and watch it 100 times over. That's all I would do is just ECW, ECW, ECW. So I was like, holy shit, these guys aren't like characters. These guys are like real people wrestling. And ECW's real. That's what I was like, that was my vision of ECW. It was real. I went and I stood there all day. When they came back to town, I got a rod there. I stood there all day. Rob Feinstein, Tommy Dreamer, and all those guys were walking around setting up. And I was just walked up and I was like, hey man, can I help out with anything? Y'all need some help? And they were like, slaps my pictures all over the fucking ground. He goes, fuck that kid or whatever, Yeah, and dude, I got pissed. I was like, fuck you. And I'm a little skinny kid, but I was ready to fight.
I do remember that.
And then Atlas Security came over there, and then Jeff's like, get this fucking kid out. And Atlas is like, no, this is a good kid. He's always around, fuck you, blah, blah. Jeff got pissed and walked off. And I was like, look, next time you come to fucking New Orleans, motherfucker, I'm going to beat your ass. And I used to pester the shit out of him. And I would call him and ask him for advice. And, again, there was two guys that I used to do that with, and that was Ernest the Cat Miller and Vic Grimes. And I was like, kind of nervous that I didn't want to tell him no. I didn't want to say no because I was at this point, XPW was the only wrestling company besides like WWE, WCW that had videos and stores and stuff like that. It was a huge experience for me. How's it going, man? How you doing? And he looks at me and he goes, what? I'm like, how's everything going? He goes, look, I can't believe I'm even sitting next to you. I don't fucking talk to guys like you. And I'm like, what? He's like, if you're not on TV, if you're not a big name, I don't fucking talk to guys. No, you don't see anybody else at the show talking to me, right? Unless you were in WCW, WWE, WWF, don't talk to me. And I was like, fuck you. That was the first thing I told him. I was like, fuck you. Like, I wasn't gonna get talked down to. He got mad and wanted me to drop the deathmatch title because Supreme had hit me with a chair, and I put my hand up, and which is a natural reaction, right? If you're gonna get hit with something, you're gonna fucking put your hand up. He still killed me with the chair, but the next show he wanted me to drop the belt and he wanted me to be crucified to where I couldn't protect myself. They had that stigma for being a huge company. They had that aura about them, and certain companies got that, and XPW was one, CZW was one, so it was one of those things of like, well, fuck, I'm going to go to CZW. They got a good company to run good shows. So, and then I seen Shane walk around with the money box and load it up, and then he wouldn't put it somewhere. And then when they finally came to to where all the boys were in the locker room later on, he said, oh yeah, we didn't get any money tonight. Ticketmaster don't ship us the money for a few days. Sorry to make everybody wait around. It's going to be a few days before we get the money. You think those guys remember that shit? And the nice things you do, and you got to take care of some fucking doped up fiend? I'm sure they don't. But I mean, that's how I was growing up, like I had, not drug wise, but like I had to grow up with my mom and, other family members like that. And it was always me fucking taking care of motherfuckers or being around it and, making sure they're breathing and stupid shit like that. That shit makes me sick. So he goes, you should let me suck your dick tonight. And I'm like, what? I was like, what the fuck did this guy just say to me? And he goes, well, why not? Shawn Michaels did it. And I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't believe this guy was telling me this, They said it at the commission meeting because people brought it up. They're like, well, how's that going to, the haters. Oh, well, Undertaker's coming here with WWE. You guys going to tell him he can't use a pile driver? It's just finished move. It's WrestleMania. And they said, we'll tell him like we tell everybody else. And if he does it, he's banned in Louisiana from wrestling. And I asked Shane, how was my match? And I asked him, do you think I can get a part with the company? And he told me, that I had no shot and that I should just quit wrestling. I came back, AJ Styles was there. So AJ's sitting in the ring. I went over to AJ to say what's up to him. I say, AJ, what's up? He's like, what are you doing here? I said, oh, I did the gut check thing. And he's like, why the hell did you do that? you know? And I'm thinking, well, fuck, I'm trying to get a job. You know, here I'm thinking just AJ's not looking out for me again. You know, and they're just like, nah, man, I think it's a ripoff. You know, I think they're just screwing the guys over. You should have called me first. So I got on a plane, and by the time I got to Florida, the hurricane had shifted, and now it was going to New Orleans. So I was starting to freak out. And I was on the phone all night with the flights and the airlines trying to get home. It was the worst feeling in the world, knowing that I was safe, but my little baby is in, you know, so much danger, and there's nothing I can do to help him. So, you know what I'm saying? I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. So eventually, it happened too many times though, and I got pissed, and you know, I confronted him on it, and then like something happened in a match, and I fucking speared him off the apron against the railing, and fucking, you know, he had to leave on the stretcher because he's lucky I didn't fucking kill him. He's a piece of shit. I said, but Ty Gordon called me, and he goes right there. He's like, Ty Gordon called you? He's like, fuck you, just go, fuck you. And they didn't want to listen to anything I had to say after that. And I was like, you know what? That's all I need. MTV dropped the ball hard with that, man. They put a few $1 million into us, and then decided that wrestling wasn't on for the MTV. They wanted to see more Sweet 16 and that bullshit. He looked at me and he said, hey, man, nobody has ever fucking came at me like that. And he was like, I got a lot of respect for you. So Vince walks by, and I say, Vince, how you doing? Oren Hawx, my real name. And I say, can I ask you a question real quick? He says, oh, Oren, nice to see you. Vince is always a straight-up guy. Really, you know, knows what he wants. Looks you right in the eye, shakes your hand. And then he goes, yeah, well, you know, you got a minute? Ask me. So I said, I want to hear straight from the horse's mouth. What do I need to do to get a job here? I want to be hired. I want to work for this company. And Vince looked at me, and he went, and gave me that gulp and that eye like he was shocked, like he does, you know, like, and he goes, so Vince comes over and he goes, hello, Oren, you know, good to see you. And I'm like, hey, Vince, how you doing? Good. And then, Mr. McMahon, thanks for having me back. And he says, so you're going to be our boogeyman? And I was like, yes, sir. He goes, do you know what the boogeyman does? And I say, I think so. And he goes, you think so, or you know so? And I'm like, fuck, I know so, you know, kind of like a little intimidating. Vince is intimidating. So, I said, I know so. He goes, well, I'm going to need you to go through the whole thing. Eat the worms and everything. And I'm like, fuck. I don't know if I ever catch him around on the scene. I definitely, you know, have a few words for him. And if he has anything.
Very often these days.
He's a fucking piece of shit. I mean, I've heard so many war stories about it. I know CM Punk, like, I heard a lot of people call him a piece of shit.
Gold glove boxer, though.
Yeah, Golden Glove boxer, get his ass knocked out.
Okay.
I'll fucking stick my foot right up his ass and he'd be flossing with my shoelaces.
We've seen a bunch of these over the years. What do you think about the idea of patterning a company off ECW? And
shit, he's a drug addict. You know, the guy's got hepatitis C that he's trying to keep it under the wraps, and he's going out there and having hardcore matches and putting people's health at risk. You know what I'm saying? That's not fair. Because I'm not going to let some motherfucker like that ruin my life, ruin my family's life, ruin my loved one's life. That's bullshit. Sabu got passed out. Justin Credible tweeted a picture of him.
Right.
So I had a picture of Justin Credible passed out, and I put that shit on Twitter because I was like, look, he buried Sabu. Now this motherfucker's passed out in the dressing room. So you know what? I took a picture of him, put the shit on Twitter, and buried his ass too. Here's a hot crowd, 2,000 plus people paying to see you, you know, which is huge nowadays. Which companies drawing crowds like that? And these motherfuckers can't even take a night seriously to go wrestle and do their job and make, you know, have a good potential to make some good money again. They fuck up every opportunity. Why do they keep getting opportunities? I have no idea. I wouldn't give it to them. You know, if you're gonna keep fucking up, you fuck up 2 or 3 times, you're done. You know, everybody deserves a second chance, but not fucking 3, 4, 5, 10 chances. Fuck that. I go over to Cody Michaels. I'm talking to Cody Michaels, and it's almost like he was scouting me out to see what I would do. Fucking Raven comes over there again, cuts me off. Hey, Cody! Right in the middle, I'm talking. I turned to him, I said, come here, motherfucker. And I was like, that's the second time you just cut me off. I was like, there ain't gonna be a third time because I'm gonna fuck you up. The guy was a former drug dealer, and we were eating dinner, and he tells me his Shane Douglas experience. He said, look, I used to be a big-time drug dealer back then. And he's like, I know you're jumping ship to WWE any day now. You're going to leave this promotion. And I'm like, you don't know a goddamn thing. And I'm like, you would jump ship to WWE tomorrow if you could. And he's like, fuck no, I wouldn't. Vince calls me all the time. I turn it down and fuck that. And I'm like, you're so full of shit, you know. Everybody knows that Vince would never fucking even piss on Shane Douglas. I wouldn't announce anything until it happened. I wouldn't say, hey, we're getting TV, we're getting this, we're getting that. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my mind, I don't believe that shit sells on anybody. You know, I'd rather surprise the fans and say, hey, we got this. You know, it's starting up this date, or, you know, I wouldn't be like, hey, I wouldn't say we got something unless we 100% had something in stone. He's kind of, I wouldn't say pissed off, but he feels like we cheated the Extreme Rising fans. That's what he told me. Like I said, he's on Twitter, you know, begging people for sympathy because his wife's dying of cancer. The poor thing. I don't know his wife. I met her a few times, but, you know, the woman's dying. And yet he's getting on Twitter all the time and posting pictures of naked bitches and shit like that. It's like, come on, man. You sitting 1 minute you're saying your wife's dying and you this and that. The next minute you're posting a picture of some fucking porn chick. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to train guys to just be wrestlers. I want to train guys because most people have the goal to be in WWE.
Right.
That's the ultimate place to go. So I want to train them the WWE way. Percy was actually one of Paul Bear.
Paul Bear, yeah.
One of the first people who helped me break into business. He was like my uncle. Check us out, man. If you don't know what Wildcat Sports is, wildcatsports.com. It's Wildcat with a K, K-A-T. So wildcatsports.com, YouTube, Wildcat Sports. You know, I've been in a lot of huge films, G.I. Joe 2, Battleship, you know, HBO's Treme. Just did 2 shows for Discovery Channel that was just on. She went, hey, how you doing? You know, Rocky or whatever. Or Dwayne, whatever he said. And I said, hey, how you doing? Luke Hawx. I said, I actually worked on G.I. Joe 2. I was hoping to get to work with you. Oh, you worked on Joe? And as soon as I said that, it was like, well, what'd you do? And then we started talking. He's like, oh, man, I would have loved to work together. And I hate how guys are like, he's so fucking awesome. Look how hard he kicks this guy. Motherfucker. Somebody kicked me in the face like that in the match. I'm telling you right now, if I ever get hit like that in the match, it's lights out for you, motherfucker. I want to be known for a good trainer, a good coach, you know, a good mentor, and a better father.